And call the order if you will.
Chairman Mayhood,
Here.
Mr. Craig,
Here.
Mr. Engard,
Here.
Mr. Grote,
Here.
Mr. Youthy,
Here.
Mr. Miller, Vice Chair McCumsky.
Here.
I think you got a full slate. Let's do the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay.
I spoke to everybody else for that. You were too.
All right, we do have an old business item that didn't come in until after I'd set the agenda. It's short-term rental, code amendment we talked about. So we'll hit that when we hit the old business. I have a handout for us at that point. Is there anything else that anyone wants to bring up? Privilege of the floor at this point?
Just a note, our agenda is not on the website.
It's not?
July 24th.
Okay,
Then that's my
you
fault.
send it to Eileen?
I thought I did, but I may not have done that, and I apologize.
All right, thank you, Birch. Anything else? All right,
Sidewalks in it.
they are really nice. Approval of the minutes of the July 24th meeting. You want to have any corrections? I did not, so I have a motion to approve. Yeah, excellent, Holly. Motion to approve. Turn your mics on if you're gonna speak, okay, please, people, for them. All right,
Who seconded?
Dwight, is there a second?
No second.
Steve Engard, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Good job, Holly.
Do I need to abstain from that since I wasn't?
Yeah,
present?
oh, that's right. Yeah, you need to abstain. Caitlin. Since she wasn't at the meeting. All right, we'll go into reports. On board met. August 14th. First thing they had, there's this program with New York State for climate smart communities and clean energy communities, trying to encourage municipalities to get cleaner climate coming into decisions that the town's making. So they had two people here. I thought I wrote down their names. I did not. Gave about a 20-minute presentation. Basically, the state has set up a program where they're willing and ready to grant money to towns to help them in their efforts to become more climate friendly. And it's a point system. As a town does something, they accumulate points. And when they get a certain number of points, it qualifies the town to receive a grant. So I guess it's scaled to the number of points you have. And so if the town has projects that they want to do, they can potentially get funding free. I guess it's totally, the projects are totally funded by the state. There's a cap, but so they gave a little presentation. And our town is ahead of the game a bit because the heating system we put in, the geothermal heating system, is one of the things that gets points because it's a climate friendly activity. So they gave a presentation. They did give one of the components was climate smart land use. So I asked the guy, what's that mean? Since we're in land use, he said, well, pretty much anything you do with it that you can in any way tie to anything for energy, conservation or climate effects. I said, well, do you have an example? He said, no, not really, but if you have an idea, put it in. Well, it's pretty wide open in terms of the types of things they want to give credits to. Our supervisor, Chris Festola, is really hot and high on this, and I guess it's a good idea to, when we have things, to keep that in mind, that funding is available. And we're going to do a project, like tailor it a little bit to qualify for some of that funding. I don't know how long the points last. They
Okay.
accumulate 5 years, so they last for 5 years. So they gave a 20-minute presentation on that. They went into reports, let's see. Privilege of the floor, Birch brought up, that on the agenda, they were going to adopt a uniform solar permit. The code enforcement was going to, actually, turns out he has been using it, but the town was going to formally endorse it and use it. Birch pointed out, however, that the permit, it designates amounts of energy generated in terms of kilovolts, kilowatt hours. But when we did our regulation, we intentionally did not do that. We focused more on the use. You know, if it's home use, farm use, it would go in one category, the simpler thing. And if it was anything for sale or export, it would undergo a different procedure. The permit apparently separates things out based on the amount of energy produced. And so the question Birch brought up was, well, you know, since we don't have it in the code, maybe we shouldn't use the permit, or we should update the code and bring it in line. CEO had been on vacation, so I don't think anybody has done anything with that. In the meantime, I believe he is using that as his permit application. Yeah, hold it down a couple of seconds.
Yeah, I reread that, and there is a loophole in the permit that it doesn't fit one of those categories, then it. 25 kilowatt under or over, then you go through a normal permitting process. So actually, you could fudge our code depending on the application and the size of the array they're putting up. We could use that form. So
I guess it's in the CEO's hands at this point. I don't know if it's beneficial for him to use that uniform permit
well,
or
I think-
modify one for their town versus modifying code.
right, I think the point of that permit, use the New York State simplified permit, then you get points.
Oh, okay. For
That's
this.
why Chris
that,
wanted to
okay.
push that through that night.
Okay, so in any event, the town board did not vote on that resolution. They tabled it to see what the CEO and what the future should be here. Again, we just don't want to build in an inconsistency if we know about it. We have enough of those in there.
Yeah.
Without adding something else. So that was a good input by Birch Craig at the meeting for privilege of the floor. They moved into reports, town clerk, regular report, highway department. Pretty much their same report. He reported that they had completed the Tibbles Road resurfacing and put the tar and stones on. I drove on it the other day. It's pretty nice.
Very nice.
They helped Richmond cleaning out the gravel from Mill Creek. They finally did that down there to alleviate things. And it's interesting that later on, Terry Gronwell from the Watershed Task Force mentioned that after the Mill Creek gravel was removed, the lake level dropped 6 inches. So a lot of water came up. It didn't get any downstream flooding, but all that water went, but it really made a big difference. And apparently people on the lake, many of them, they couldn't get their docks in, or like Kate Crowley, she had her. The water level was too high to get a boat in. But with this 6-inch drop, things are back pretty close to the normal level. So they did do that, and our highway department helped them by trucking away some of the gravel.
Was that the DEC permit that they had been waiting?
Well,
for a long time?
that was asked, and they kind of skirted the issue. It sounded like they cleared a part of the creek that didn't require. It was a side creek instead of the main creek or something, but they did not violate the DEC regulation. But it sounds like it did the same, it had the same effect.
Okay, but the DEC never came through.
Right. In fact, one of the people here for the presentation was a TEC employee. So Chris Festola mentioned to her, hey, we've been trying to get this permit. you're in that department, can't you do something about it? So obviously they have not gotten a permit from DEC yet at that point in time. Biggest effect, obviously, was to get the lake level down to where it wasn't affecting them. Lakefront owners' properties. And their new large truck is almost ready to be delivered. It's gonna be delivered in time for winter use. So they're happy about that. They also did some clearing of gravel from some of the culverts over on Canadice Lake Road. That's kind of a continual thing. They have to do it almost every year. Gravel, big rocks get washed down. So that was his report. Watershed Task Force, lake level. There was a new invasive weed was discovered in the Honeoye Inlet down at the FLCC station. And so FLCC Mower Station staff were getting student volunteers to go in there and pull those weeds out. So I didn't catch the name of it or where it came from, but apparently they thought they had the situation under control by getting rid of it. And that was all that. Let's see what else they had. They appointed Holly Schwingle as the assessor. She completed her certification. That allowed Lisa Bennett to actually retire and stop working. They set a public hearing for the budget workshop, September 12th. If you have any input on next year's budget, you're welcome to attend. Setting a public hearing for September 12th for the fire protection districts for their budgets. They had a resolution to set the public hearing for the revision of the short-term rental law. We had some discussion, and what had been proposed didn't seem to fit with exactly what our intent was. So they postponed that, and they asked me to talk to our attorney. I've got some input here. We're going to talk about that later. The next resolution was to adopt the New York State Unified Solar Permit. Again, we already talked about that, so they did not pass that resolution. There was a resolution to establish energy benchmarking requirements for the town buildings. So I'm gonna have a benchmark of what the use is. And they appointed Denise Kuhn as deputy historian. Apparently Bots, Mr. and Mrs. Bott both resigned, and I don't know why they appointed her as deputy, not historian, but they appointed her as deputy historian. Is that Russ Kuhn's wife?
No,
No.
we're not related.
Okay.
Different stuff.
Be one of his boys' wives?
No.
Okay.
Different stuff.
That was it. Questions? County Planning Board, Steve Grote.
Ended the August 9 planning board. Nothing really to report, just two FYI items. Town of Canandaigua. Here's a site plan special use permit to build a 15-acre solar farm, 4 megawatt. On a 17.9 acre parcel. County Road 10. Over near the Land of Legends Raceway and the Ontario County Fairgrounds. The site's currently zoned industrial. And then also in the town of Canandaigua, there's a new Verizon pole going up 155 foot plus 4 foot lighting. That's on the intersection of Dual Road. And, I thought it was I didn't have the other intersection. Dual Road. Verizon facility.
Dual Road and County Road 33.
No. Just Dual Road. It's a 34 acre parcel.
Oh.
Apparently, they're just gonna have to disturb 1.3 acres.
There
I don't know.
are two dual roads.
Well,
It must be the one over.
I can't even
He
place
said the
dual
one in
roads.
Town of Canandaigua. That
Oh,
runs between
yeah.
County Road 16 and State Road.
Right. That dual road.
So I assume it's at the top of it.
Yeah, that's all.
Thanks. Questions for Steve? Right. Zoning board? Didn't get any reports, so I don't know what's going
I
on.
don't think they met.
I don't think they met either. Code enforcement included the monthly report. Any questions, you can talk to Joe Miller. And yes, sure. Do you have anything to report on comprehensive plan or want to comment on the comprehensive plan? We should probably add that as a,
standing item. I'm just still working on the background research. I hopefully next month we'll get the budget approved and kind of make a plan moving forward once budget is approved and I finish background research.
we did, Caitlin and I tried to ballpark some costs for next year for comprehensive plan. Submitted it to the budget workshop. I gave it to Chris Vestola. He looked at it, didn't seem to flinch about it at all, so that was good.
$50,000.
11,000, I think it is, 11,550. And we've, kind of tried to figure out, like, we might have a couple of mailings and estimated cost, compensation for the chair for meeting attendance, Ontario County mapping and printing, just trying to estimate what the cost would be and put in some contingency and came up to 11,000. So
And I'm assuming the county can provide us with a lot of support on
the
it.
county's going to provide 40 hours of technical support free.
And then we budgeted an extra 5,000 for additional, mostly looking at the plan initially. I don't think we're gonna need a ton of updates, the character of the town hasn't changed a lot. The one thing that's probably gonna need the most updating is the mapping pieces. And that's something that I think we're gonna need assistance on. The other pieces, I think that we'll be able to update in-house. And the mapping, I think we'll need some county assistance on that.
And we put money in for a survey.
Yeah. Yeah.
That'll be probably the other bigger
Yep,
cost.
the survey was the big piece, the mapping, the mailings.
Mm.
And then we did also budget for, to kick off an email program for the town. To start subscription, for people who are interested in participating in the process and following along. We can hopefully get some people to subscribe to an email list.
You think your point of contact at the county planning would be Tom Harvey for the most part? Is there any-
Chatting with Linda.
Oh, you have, okay.
I've had some initial conversations with Linda and, she's provided some really great resources to kind of get the ball rolling.
Okay,
She seems to have a
'Cause
lot
I know
of
he
interest-
helped-
She seems to have a lot of interest in
Oh,
energy also.
okay,
I know Tom likes to get into these things too.
yeah, cause he had an awful lot of help the last one, didn't he?
Right.
He offered, that was most.
He wasn't the director last time.
Yeah,
He's got
Yeah,
a little bit
that's
more
true.
Responsibility now.
that's true. Yeah,
Yeah, I know Linda worked really closely with both the town of Gorham and the town of Richmond, who both did recent updates.
Thank you. Anything else? All right. Okay, short-term rental. You recall, we put together a regulation, it's chapter 97 in our code book. And upon looking at it carefully, we discovered we had not included any penalties. And so then the enforcement was kind of weak, right? So just for your recollection, since I doubt if you all remember, this is what we had. Yes, as well. This is what we had suggested as the code update. So if you have your book, you open it up to chapter 97. 97. So what I passed out was what the group had come up with in terms of recommendation. The other thing that we had recommended is a slight wording change on section 97(8)(a). Start with that. And I don't think we have to go into all of the unless we want to, but we wanted to just strike the 4 words after violations. We would just have it read violations of any short-term rental permit, not of this section, okay? And then we had suggested a separate section, we numbered it 97.12 because that was the next section, which was penalties. That's what I passed out to you. So the attorney put together this. So it's down, is the resolution. And basically what she did was she rolled the penalties into section 97.8. You got enough?
Yeah, we got extra.
Okay, pass one back to the. Holly didn't get one, I guess. So this was the resolution. There's a lot of words here, but if you turn this over to page 2. This is what she's proposing, what she came up with the recommendation. Well, the point that we made, and Birch and Kate Crowley also picked it up, was that this section 97(8) applies to people who already have permits, right? And so we thought it should stand alone because it would address those without permits. Sheila Shalafor, attorney, said, but we got 97-3. So look at section 97-3. Okay, so after this meeting, Chris Festola asked me to talk to Sheila and try to sort this out. So that's what I do. And Sheila said 97.3 covers the requirement for permits. Therefore, the violations can be rolled into section 97.8. And I just wanted to make sure that that makes sense to all of you. Again, our biggest concern was we weren't addressing non-permitted people. But if you point out, if you look at 97.3, that addresses it, is her contention. And so it would go through. And then the only other thing is, rather than having 97.8A, change the wording there. I think I gave you my scratch tune section, right? So it would read violations of this chapter or of any short-term rental permit. So it encompasses everything that way. So that's what she's proposing as the code update. That made sense to me when she pointed that out.
That makes sense to me.
Does it?
What's the penalty?
Well, the penalties are they're exactly what we have on our sheet.
Yeah.
It's number 5 and 6. Okay, those are the penalties for both civil and the violation. So that's the exact same wording that we had suggested to her. The wording is exactly the same, and the amounts of the penalties are exactly what we had already agreed upon when we agreed upon that update. So it looks to me that if we make this minor change to what she has put together, we'll be okay. And I just wanted to make sure that everybody else sees it that way.
So 97.12 is brand new, doesn't exist.
That 97.12 is not going to be a separate section. The wording there
Right.
is incorporated in 97.8.
Okay, got it.
Section 5 and 6 and 7. 5, 6, and 7 are the breakdowns for those paragraphs that we were proposing as
It's
97.
97-12.
So it's not gonna be 97.12, it'll be a modified 97.8.
Okay.
Sound okay?
Sounds good to me. I think she is the expert in the law. And I think
Yeah.
The intention is the same.
I do want to call Kate Crowley, since she's a council member that picked up the same thing when she read it. And so I'll call her and make sure she's okay. And then we'll just recommend it back to the town board to take Sheila's accommodation and let them get it moved along. So if ever, since we, this is really our responsibility, I think we need a motion to accept the modification and forward it to the town board.
I'll make a motion, we accept the modification with your changes
Okay,
in 97-8A. And send it to the town board.
all
I'll
right.
second.
Second, Caitlin, any other discussion on it? All in favor?
I
Opposed? Carried. Thank you very much.
What took them so long to?
Every time I asked Chris, he said, well, the attorney's got the attorney. So I don't know where that was. Because when I talked to Sheila, she got right back to me. Which she normally does, our attorney was me, she usually gets back to me. So we'll take care of that and then we'll be all set. Thank you, everyone.
What's the August 14th date on the?
They were going to pass it at their town board meeting. This was a copy of the resolution. That's what all this wording is. Shell phone. See,
Then somebody raised their hand, Kate did, or
well, I'm not sure. I think Birch did first or Kate probably.
Kate questioned.
I think Kate questioned it.
We didn't even see this. At the
I
town.
had.
Oh, you had a copy.
Because Eileen had sent it to me early.
Yeah, I hadn't seen a copy at all.
I'll look it up on the website.
Yeah, Sheila Shalafo, it's Shalafo Law. Or it starts with C
Or just town attorney.
or town attorney.
It's true.
Okay, good. That's the end of our agenda. Privilege of the floor.
I just have one item of interest. I'm going to be giving a presentation at Mueller Field Station on September 27th, as part of my day job. Talking about recycling, composting, waste disposal, if anybody is interested.
September 27th.
It's a Wednesday, I believe,
What time?
7 o'clock.
Do we need to sign up in advance?
Yeah,
Because sometimes they close that off.
Sure, let me find out. I can forward an email.
Okay, yeah,
to
why
Ted.
don't you, sometimes you have to sign up because they have limited seating.
Yeah, I don't think there is registration required, but I'll get the details and I'll forward it to Ted for distribution for anybody that is interested.
You ready for a full house?
Or you can.
I would love a full house. They said sometimes there's 5 people and sometimes there's 30 people, so.
It's at 7 o'clock, it's AM, yes.
I wish, I'd rather at 8 AM. Yeah.
It's PM.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else on privilege of the floor? Is there a second?
Wait a second.
Boy, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thanks, everyone. Keep that smoke. So.